This video is a complete summary of all canon subject matter towards the series in question. It contains spoilers and details for numerous aspects to the story and its events, and is not meant to serve as a replacement to experiencing any of the pieces of media mentioned. Please support the official releases of the developers and their entries in the franchise. After nearly 10 years, the hostility between the two primary continents reached a conclusion. While some passive hostility remained, the Roman-Altaginian War had concluded, and a ceasefire was put in place, allowing for travel once again between the territories. In Balduke, a few key events take place. A woman uncovers a long-thought lost doll by the name of Anemona, freeing a soul inside. A local tavern, the Dandelion, is forced to close, and that same woman begins to notice the realm known as the Grimwald Nox return. In Salsetta, Gash, a mercenary of Danaan village, has begun traveling. His brother and former fiancé to Frida, Ernst, has begun making a plan of attack. He had inherited the Black Emelas key to the Ark of Napishtim, Almarian, and plans to utilize its power himself. He traveled to the Roman Empire with fellow true Darkling Gruda. However, instead of returning to Salsetta, he made a name for himself in the Roman Empire, becoming a commander in their military, second in command to Admiral Agaris's fleet. Agaris is a deplorable man who dreams of joining the Roman Senate by any means necessary. Ernst is able to convince Agaris that by traveling to the vortex of Canaan and returning, with exploration knowledge and rare resources, will surely bring glory to his name. The Admiral's fleet begins to prepare for the journey. Ahead of time, Ernst uses his knowledge of homunculi to create 3 loyal elemental fairies. These can serve as substitutes for Alma's sword key locks in the Ark, meant to respond to the 3 types of Emelas. He sends the fairies to the vortex ahead of time. With flight and durability, they can navigate the vortex well enough and prepare for arrival. They were to find a treasure of the Reda, the Mirror of Zim, which allowed for Alma, in her sublimated state, to channel her power to the beings of Canaan. They were to shatter the mirror, and if possible, hide the real Emelas keys. Ernst wanted the only possible way to open the Ark to be by his hand. Gash caught wind of the scheme, and made his trek to the Canaan Islands in a small vessel at around the same time as the fairies, to hopefully counter their schemes as much as possible. He survives the vortex and makes it to the islands and begins exploring for Alma's treasures. Following the periplus on the Goat Sea, Adol and Dogi have continued their travels across Eresia, with smaller ventures over the past couple years. They are resting for an evening in a tavern on the western coast of Eresia before they are greeted by an old, unexpected friend. Terra Eber of Xandria, now 16 years old, has arrived with her father, the famous pirate captain Ladok, with a request. They are trying to venture to the ends of the earth, the vortex of Canaan, in search of a supposed legendary treasure. Terra has spent the last 2 years traveling with her father adventuring, and hearing Adol was nearby, told the captain of his explorer's skill. Seeing Adol and Dogi as perfect for the task, he invites them to join the crew. It wouldn't be the first time the 2 traveling partners had considered such a voyage, and this would make for the perfect opportunity. They agree, but must flee quickly, as Agaris has also heard of Adol's presence in the port town, and will be damned if some legendary adventurer interferes in his ambitions, and orders him to be detained. Fortunately, the pirate ship is ready to set sail, and immediately starts making its way across the ocean. The trip is smooth for much of the voyage, until they reach the vortex of Canaan. Worthy of its reputation, the ship is quickly battered by waves and storms. From behind, Agaris and Ernst have begun their journey as well, and have caught up to Laddock's crew. Recognizing the pirate, the Roman fleet starts raining cannon fire on the helpless ship. Caught between the vortex and the fleet, the ship takes a beating, and Terra is almost knocked overboard. Adol rushes in to catch her, but at the cost of him falling overboard, instead. Swallowed by the vortex. Ladok has no choice. They must head into the vortex to try and avoid the fleet's onslaught. They are eventually able to shake the fleet, who avoid going too deep into the vortex. But for the next 3 days, the ship and its crew face hell and high water. The mast and rudder are completely destroyed, but somehow, miraculously, they are able to make it through to the Canaan Islands. The ship is able to cruise into a small inlet cove on the east side of the island, where Doki, Terra, Ladok, and the rest of the crew get their bearings. A familiar situation for Adol the Red, washed ashore in unfamiliar land. Meanwhile, two Reda, Olha, and Isha, nieces to the chieftain Ord, are resting on the shores of Quaitara Island. Olha is the reigning priestess of her people, and is playing her flute before a breeze is felt. The girls look towards the beach, and find a collapsed swordsman on the shore. This is the first time an Eresian human has washed ashore on this specific island of Canaan. Isha watches over Adol, while Olha retrieves some of the villagers. While alone, Isha sees visions while looking at Adol, an ability she no longer thought she had to worry about. Adol awakens to an argument between Olha and Ord in the Reda village. Tensions between Reda and Eresians are at its peak, and Ord worries of the village reaction to bringing Adol here. They make introductions as the swordsman finally awakens. Against Olha's wishes, Ord insists that Adol leaves the village as soon as he's physically able. Ord argues with Olha, believing that she should take his side, thinking of the villager's state of mind as priestess of Alma. Regardless, though, Olha tells Adol to ignore her uncle and take his time. 3 days later, Adol is well enough to leave his bed. He adorns the now dry equipment he washed ashore with and starts exploring. He finds Olha deep in prayer. She's relieved at Adol's recovery. Olha is willing to give some information on Canaan. She tells about the Reda, how they are children of Alma, living on Canaan for centuries under their goddess's protection. The outsiders, or Eresians, are numerous. They have all washed ashore over the years, though they have made their settlement on the main island, Canaan Island proper. Besides Quaitara and Canaan, there is Zenith Island, a place with ruins in the center of the archipelago. It might be difficult to talk to the rest of Olha's family, unfortunately. Isha is friendly, but very shy, and while Ord is wise in regards to Canaan, he thinks poorly of the Eresians. Navigating the rest of the village, a few of its residents are friendly, or at least indifferent to Adol, but plenty are on edge and are reluctant to help an outsider. At the entrance, Adol sees the familiar Isha, run off, and gives chase. Adol makes his way through the Quaitara woods, regaining strength and a sense of combat. Eastward, he finds a destroyed bridge monitored by Ord and another warrior named Kuval, who tells Adol about how anyone stranded on the Canaan Islands stays here forever. Ord would like nothing more than for Adol to leave Quaitara Island, now that he is able, but the bridge connecting their home with the human settlement has collapsed. Nearly a month ago, the bridge was burned, and something important to the Reda went missing. Ord's assumptions beyond that don't warrant mention. This inciting incident is the reason for the higher-than-normal tensions between the groups. Ord will allow Adol to remain in the village until the bridge is repaired, but asks him to stay away from Olha and Isha, descendants of Alma. Adol doesn't take the warning to heart, as he soon finds Olha in a fountain of prayer. Olha, relieved that Adol hasn't gotten himself lost on the island, the pure water of this fountain was used to heal Adol's wounds. Olha notes how Isha's been running off from the village as of late, and notes how she's been acting a bit stranger than usual. Adol eventually finds her by the beach she washed ashore on. He informs Isha that her sister is searching for her, which causes her to run off. Adol follows to make sure that Isha makes it to the fountain safe. A good call. as a rumble can be heard in the distance. In the passage beyond the fountain, a large monster emerges with its sights set on Isha. Adol quickly runs to her aid to take on the massive beast. He is able to defeat it, but in the process his sword shatters. Isha runs to check on Adol and apologizes. She assumed he was a bad person since he was Eresian, but now knows the truth after witnessing Adol's bravery. Just then, though, the monster summons its last bit of strength in an attempt to kill the defenseless pair. When an arrow strikes from behind, it's Olha, joined by Ord and other Reda warriors. They regroup in the village. Ord describes the beast they encountered as a wandering calamity, a recurring enemy appearing on the islands, though there hasn't been one in 10 years. Olha and Ord are appreciative and impressed by the swordsman's actions. The beast is impervious to normal steel. It could not have been killed by Adol's blade, but just to weaken it takes considerable skill. They show their weapons, made from a green translucent material, the legendary Emel. Ord speaks to Adol privately. He gives thanks for saving his niece Isha. His brother and the girl's father died in the Calamity attack a decade ago. He apologizes for his treatment earlier and asks a request of Adol. He tells of an underground passage that lies beyond the path the beast made in the fountain. It goes under the sea and connects the two islands. Ord asks Adol to look for the lost item of the Reda, the white mirror of Zim. In exchange, he gives Adol the prized Emel sword, Livart. Olha recalls that the system also connects to Zemeth Island as well, but Canaan is more important. She bids Adol luck and farewell on his journey. As he leaves, Isha also says goodbye, giving a wooden bracelet for luck. Adol finds some warriors at the passage's opening. Apparently the passage beyond is filled with monsters and creatures. It looks like the bridge will still need to be repaired. But Adol is undeterred, and believes an adventurer like him can still make it through. Creatures indeed lurk about the cave, but Adol remains focused. His Livart Emel sword allows him to enter deeper into the Mythos passage. Further in, Adol encounters a human warrior stuck in front of a similar red stone door. Adol introduces himself, and the man has of course heard stories of the legendary Adol the Red. Skilled, but a bit of a nosy goody-two-shoes, he asks to spar, to give Adol a chance to prove what he and that Emelas sword is all about. It's a fierce battle, but ends in a loss for Adol, and the stranger is not impressed. He finally introduces himself. The name's Gesh. He's an adventurer like Adol, but also makes time for mercenary work as well. He recommends Adol to head to the village on Canaan, and mind his own business regarding the mysteries of this region, for his own good. Adol will make his own decisions, but checking out the village is indeed the next stop for our fellow adventurer. Two human construction workers are talking outside of the cave, Zaxxon and Lloyd. They've exhausted the stone resources here, and are going to need to start begrudgingly mining the cave. Lloyd is concerned with angering the Reda, while Zaxxon makes his disgust to the respective race known. Adol emerges from the cave and makes his introduction. They recommend talking to the chief carpenter of the village, Master Baslam, as they direct him to the town they call home, Port Remorge. Adol arrives at the port to see the sights. At the nearby tavern, he asks about the white mirror. The bartender doesn't know, but maybe the professor does. Adol finds some shops, including a Reda craftswoman, who can use gathered Emel to reinforce his weapon. Adol finds Lloyd at Baslam's mansion, who welcomes him inside. Baslam is a merchant from Altago. He was stranded 10 years ago and has been trying to work towards expanding the town. He has had no moral quarrels with destroying the ruins and sites sacred to the Reda people, much to the anger of Ord. But Baslam believes it's necessary for the village. He's taken an interest in the ruins of Zemeth Island. The currents are too rough to reach the island, but the path that Adol explored may be the key. Baslam offered Gesh the task to uncover the path to the island, but Gesh refused to do it with Baslam's help or resources. Adol goes to find the professor the villagers were talking about. To Adol's surprise, it's Rabba, the old scholar from Eresia, whom Adol rescued from Darm Tower 6 long years ago. They instantly recall each other. They explain how their respective adventurous spirits brought them to Canaan's Great Vortex. Rabba explains how he arrived on the island via shipwreck, where he was the sole survivor. He earned good favor with the Reda for knowing the cure to an illness that was sweeping the village. After healing the villagers, Ord's son and the sister's cousin, asked to be the apprentice of Rabba. Rabba accepted, and has lived in the village since. He's out at the moment, though. Rabba attempts to answer as many of Adol's questions as he can. He unfortunately hasn't heard from Dogi, Lavok, Terra, or the rest of the crew.
Nor the Roman fleet that attacked.
He is concerned with Baslam's actions, using the ruins of the Winged Ones to construct the village. As for the Mirror of Zim, he was shown it once by Olha. It was made of pure white emelas, but he has no clue as to its current whereabouts. He's willing to help, though, if it's a request from Ord. Maybe knows something. Before Adol leaves, Rabba gives him a map of Canaan, made by the scholar himself. Before exploring northward, where was headed, Adol does his best to help patch relations between the two islands, helping to start a correspondence in an effort to get construction on a new bridge going. After, Adol sets off north toward Grana Vallis Mountain in search of answers to this mysterious archipelago, and maybe find his traveling companions. Deep in the mountain's caverns, Adol finds a young Reda, cornered by a group of vicious earthen worm monsters. Fortunately, he's not too late and saves the boy. The apprentice to Rabba, and son of Ord. This is the young They introduce themselves and Adol details his arrival. Was picking herbs when he spotted a red fairy carrying something deeper into the caverns. He's going to cut his losses, though, and head back into town, while telling Adol about a shrine on top of the mountain, the Altar of Briante. Adol arrives and finds a mirror fragment, likely a piece of the one owned by the Reda, as well as the red fairy Jue. She says Adol can keep the mirror if he has some fun with her first. She summons a large insectoid monster and causes the shrine to plummet down a chasm below. Adol defeats the beast as the altar crashes. Jue expresses her anger, how she used the mirror to wake up the creature and eat a specific key, but now those plans are ruined. She swears revenge before leaving. The key in question being the red Emelas sword, Briante, another of the 3 legendary blades of the Eldeen. Adol takes the blade and makes his way out of the mountain. He arrives back in the village to find who asks Adol to come and talk to him and Rabba. Rabba explains to Adol and his past, to which adventuring spirit is quickly excited. Adol explains what happened at the mountain, and Rabba confirms the fragment to be a part of the Mirror of Zim. Rabba recommends returning the piece to Olha when he can. This is only a piece, though, and they had best keep their eyes peeled for the rest of the shattered mirror. Before returning to the Reda village, Adol finds Isha along the coastline. She mentions how she had a dream that sounds eerily similar to Adol's adventure on the mountain. She has always had visions like this. Potentially, it's her connection to Alma that allows her to use this power. She doesn't want to tell Olha, though, and add to her worries. Now, though, she finds comfort in Adol, accepting his bravery. Adol heads to the village to meet with Olha at her prayer shrine. Olha is overjoyed to have the mirror fragment back, even if it is just a piece. The mirror isn't just sacred to her people, but a memento from her mother, the former priestess. Adol confides in Olha about Isha's visions. Secretly, Olha has known for some time. It's a rare, but known ability in Redan woman. She feels like she failed for forcing Isha to carry this burden on her own. Adol then relays his adventures to Chief Ord, who also expresses thanks for rescue. Ord was unaware of the mirror's ability to call monsters like what the fairy was able to do, and with the knowledge of other malevolent forces present on the island, maybe it wasn't the Eresians from the port who destroyed the bridge after all. Speaking of which, reconstruction has begun on the new bridge. Where to next, though? Adol recalls a sealed red door in the underground passage that looks similar to the blue door which opened from the present of Levart. Maybe Briante is the key to opening this one. Adol's assumptions prove true as he makes his way through the new entrance. The passageway uncovers new traps and creatures in these haunting ruins of lost time. Traveling deeper in the lost shrine, Adol finds another of the lost mirror fragments. This one guarded by another fairy. One with hair and wings adorned with an electric yellow. This fairy, Sarah, mentions how Adol is the second to appear to go against their ambitions, and calls upon another guardian to stop Adol. This ancient construct is no match for Adol's abilities and new sword, though, and is quickly dispatched. Though surprised at her underestimation, Sarah remains undeterred. The seal will be unbroken soon, and bids farewell. Adol continues further into the passage before emerging into the light. The rumors of the extent of the passage's reach were true. He has arrived at the Zenith Sanctum, at the center of the Canaan Islands. Adol arrives at a translucent white statue of an Eldeen, who upon arrival floods Adol's mind with an introduction.
You have come far, brave warrior. My name is Alma. It is I who sealed the Ark. Though my vessel does here decay, my soul yet lives, inherited by my children. Brave swordsman, savior of my brethren in a far-off land, I shall entrust to you the final key. But take heed, noble warrior, for the stolen black key is poised to open the Ark once more. And that is a nightmare which must remain undreamed.
The voice goes silent, and a passage in the rear of the sanctum opens. Inside, 3 colored pedestals, with only the yellow pedestal still possessing its key, the electric rapier, Eresia. At the entrance to the sanctum, Gash arrives. He says he doesn't have the keys like Adol, but he can still help. He rigs the keyholes of the sanctum with protective talismans against the fairies. He says he underestimated Adol, but thinks he still isn't a match for the true mastermind of the evil brewing on this island. Time to check with some folks about Adol's discoveries. First, a reward to collect. Adol tells Baslam about his discoveries at the hidden sanctum, and the carpenter keeps his word, rewarding Adol his prized Gratheos talisman. Channeling the god of the sea allows Adol to move freely underwater, though Baslam makes it clear that this is only a loan. He also gives a heads up to Adol that repairs on the bridge have completed, and some Reda have made their way back to the port. Isha is at Rabba's, and Adol fills them in on his journeys as well. Back at Reda village, Largo, the front guard, tells Adol that if he's looking for Olha, she's over at Windseeker Heights toward the western end of Katera. Adol recalls that area having a high concentration of monsters and goes to ensure her safety. At first, his worry appears founded, as the monsters were indeed fearsome, but Adol survives until the remote altar, and Olha appears fine, and can hold her own on the west end. When Adol arrives, she is playing a song on her flute. She's a bit embarrassed by her play, so she comes out here to practice. It's a wonderful view. In the distance one can see Grand Vallis Mountain, and even the Zenith Sanctum in the center of the islands. Olha is once again extremely grateful to Adol for retrieving another fragment of the Mirror of Zim. Time to find the last mirror fragment, and maybe some clues as to the whereabouts of his traveling companions. Adol hasn't found any information regarding the former. The only place left to search would be the northeast shore, only reachable by the lime water cave in the plains. The destination is set as the adventurer begins to explore the dank caverns. Deeper within, Adol once again finds Gash. He overhears him discussing how the fairies went further into the water-deep caves, but as soon as he notices Adol, he keeps quiet, only to admonish the adventurer for continuing to stick his nose where it doesn't belong before leaving. The large cave lake isn't a burden to Adol anymore, as he uses the Gratheos talisman to proceed. Through the flooded areas, Adol resurfaces to find another mirror fragment, and its fairy guardian, Zisa. She uses the mirror to summon an encase rock wall golem that unleashes its strength upon Adol. With great agility, Adol manages to dodge the incoming attacks and destroy the beast, opening a hole beyond the cavern. Zisa is livid that her summoned beast has been defeated and leaves in disgust, swearing revenge. Adol travels through the now open cave to find a dead end, though it looks like some of the rubble here can be excavated to make a path. Adol is about to leave before a voice he recognizes calls out. Of course, Adol doesn't need a team for this, not when he has Dogi the Wall Crusher on his side. Coincidentally, Dogi was just about to break through this wall as Adol was making his way through the caverns. They are extremely happy to see each other, as Adol relays everything that's happened since his washing ashore. Dogi relays the good news that the rest of the ship had an easier time of it. The pirate ship and crew are docked in a cove on the other side of that wall. It's damaged, but everyone's okay. Terra's been depressed ever since Adol went overboard. He should let her know things are okay. Adol heads over to Sunrise Inlet, where Ladok's ship is docked. Terra is upset, blaming herself for Adol's loss at sea. That sadness quickly turns to happiness as she sees that Adol is safe and sound, but that happiness quickly turns to anger towards the swordsman for putting himself in danger in the first place, making her worried sick. Ladok quickly arrives to defuse the situation. They regroup in the pirate ship. They're intrigued to learn of the settlements of the islands, as while Adol has been adventuring, the pirate crew has been attempting to shake the Roman fleet, still on their tail, which drove them into the vortex. Now that they have a better idea of where resources can be found, the pirates can make an effort to conduct repairs on the vessel. They can use a lifeboat to take along the coast to Port Remorge. While the crew watches the ship, Adol, Dogi, Terra, and Ladok head back to town. In Remorge, Ladok and Boslam make some negotiations. In exchange for repair materials and survival necessities, the ship will be at the disposal of the town, offering leave for anyone who wants it, to which both sides agree. The ship repairs don't look like it will take too long, but after that, what then? It seems impossible the Vortex will allow a return trip. It was a miracle the ship made it to the islands to begin with. Ladok heads to the tavern to think of a plan. While Dogi, Ladok, and Terra get their first good meal in a while, Adol checks in on the Retta. He walks in on a heated argument between Gesh and Ord and Olha. Gesh is demanding more information on Zenith's sanctum, but Ord says that he has no more knowledge to give, nor does he have any obligation to provide it. With Adol's arrival, Gesh takes his leave, giving a heads up that he hasn't spotted the fairies for a while. The chief can't dedicate much time to worrying about Gesh. After all, it's almost time for the Festival of Alma, an annual harvest festival in the village. Everyone is getting ready, and Olha insists that Adol attends. Before he forgets, Adol gives Olha the last mirror fragment, which causes her to once again become overjoyed. Together they head to the nearby shrine and perform the ritual to restore the mirror, involving prayer to the goddess Alma. Isha arrives to see Olha crying at the completion of the mirror's reconstruction. Suddenly, the mirror glows brilliantly, showing a vision to the group. At the sanctum, Boslam has taken some workers and Rabba to investigate a means of stopping the vortex. Rabba ruminates that the statue of Alma brings to mind Rhea and Fina of Ys. Boslam notices the talismans of the three statues. They realize it was likely Gesh who put them there, and this angers Boslam, taking the Zenith investigation into his own hands after Gesh turned down the offer to work with the merchant. The gall to put some means of claimant on the pillars. Boslam orders their removal immediately. Rabba is unsure of this, but is unable to stop the group. Back at the village, the purpose of the vision seems unclear. Isha feels nauseous following the experience and goes to lie down. Meanwhile, Adol leaves to investigate. He heads back to Zenith's sanctum to see the party in the vision collapsed, and with the lack of the talismans, the fairies can approach the statues. Their purpose is revealed to serve as living substitutes for the three Emelas keys: Zisa Livart, Jue Briante, and Sarah Eresil. With these three keys, the seal on the Ark of Napishtim has been lifted, and the vortex disperses. Immediately, the Roman ships that stalked Ladok and Adol can now make their approach to the islands. Gash arrives furious at the removal of his talismans as the fairies gloat, saying now that their master can arrive shortly. Gash explained how these fairies are artificial homunculi, meant to give the same power as the Emelas blades, and their creator is approaching. He tells Adol to get ready, no telling what might happen now that the vortex is gone. Adol heads to the port, where he sees that Roman soldiers have already all but occupied the village. The Reda village is a far more gruesome sight. The town is deserted, with Adol only finding the chief in his hut, currently bleeding and injured. Half of the villagers fled with Kuval, while the other half stayed as the Roman soldiers approached, laying waste to the populace. Ord was defeated by the soldier leading them, a long, dark-haired man with a sword of black Emelas. Olha and Isha were among the Reda who stayed. Adol takes Ord back to his room before collapsing unconscious. Rabba arrives. He has a request. He will watch the chief if Adol can go back to the port, docked as a main warship where Rabba believes is being held captive. It's up to Adol to try and save them. Boslam is back in the port, angered immensely by the presence of Romans. He tells Adol that the admiral in charge is planning to bring Reda back to sell as slaves. Boslam isn't too interested in helping the Reda, but he'll do anything to get back at the Roman fleet. Terra arrives as well to express her support for a rescue mission. The repairs on Ladok's ship are finished, and the ship was moved to a more secure area when the Roman army started approaching. Fortunately, the escaped Reda are hiding out with Ladok and his crew. They have a plan to rescue their captured brethren. The plan is for Boslam to invite the fleet's commander, Admiral Agaris, to a banquet. Then Ladok and the rest of the crew will create a large diversion to draw the fleet. During this, Terra and Adol will sneak aboard the Admiral's ship to free the Reda. Agaris is quick to agree to the banquet, while his long-haired commander Ernst continues his search for the other Reda. The rest of the plan works beautifully, as Adol and Terra sneak aboard. They quickly explore the ship for survivors. Adol finds a hold a few decks down. He quickly takes down the guard, and Terra is able to lockpick the cell. Is among the prisoners, but Olha and Isha are nowhere to be found. Adol and Terra continue looking, and it would be best for the prisoners to escape now, before a larger commotion causes more soldiers to return. Deep within the ship, Adol finds a large pen, and hanging above it is Olha caged. She is happy to see the swordsman, but quickly warns that this pen is home to a freakish, frog-like beast. It reveals itself to kill the uninvited guest. Adol has fought worse, though, and manages to take down the creature. Adol quickly frees Olha, who reveals that Isha was taken away, and that she's felt helpless ever since the attack. Terra has arrived to warn them that Agaris has returned from the banquet, but it's too late. He's back with soldiers, and furious that he let loose his Reda, his favorite slave, and killed Elizabeth, his prized Afrokan giant frog. Before the soldiers can capture the group, though, Gash comes to their rescue, as he disposes of the soldiers before rushing to interrogate the Admiral. Demanding to know where Ernst is, he apparently took Isha on his search for the remaining Reda. After saying all he can, Gash knocks out the Admiral. He tells Adol to escape with his friends while he starts to look for the commander. They flee the ship, taking out any soldiers that stand in their way. Back at the sanctum, Ernst has an exhausted Isha in front of the statue of Alma as the fairies approach their creator. They warn their master of not just Gesh, but Adol the Red. They have more pressing matters, though, as Ladok and Dogi arrive to the aid of Isha. The standoff ends with Ernst drawing his black Emelas blade Almarion and turning it towards the statue of Alma. Of course, not a statue at all, but the final seal on the Ark of Napishtim, Alma herself, sublimated into white Emelas, and with the black key he destroys the remains of the goddess. This calls forth the Ark of Napishtim from its slumbering depths, the ancient Eldeen supercomputer used to control the weather of the entire Atlas Ocean. Not only has the Ark resummoned the Great Vortex, but a sea monster has also been unshackled, annihilating the Roman fleet. Everyone regroups back at Boslam's and Remorge, but the general air surrounding the port has become one of panic over the Ark's sudden appearance. Now the natural blockade around Canaan is stronger than ever. The group are at a disadvantage both in strength and knowledge. Ernst clearly knows much more about Alma and the mysteries of this island. Rabba arrives. Ord is hurt but will recover. He left him in and Olha's hands after they arrived back in the village. Adol checks in on him as well, and Ord asks to speak with the swordsman alone. He thanks him profusely for saving his people, and decides to tell him the secrets of this island. About the Eldeen from the west, who created the Ark of Napishtim as a conduit for controlling the sea's weather. The Reda were followers of Alma, who guarded the Ark. The Ark was misused by the Darklings, and so the Ark needed to be sealed using the 3 Emelas keys, and Alma's own sublimated remains. Ernst is likely planning to use the Black Key, and Isha, one descendant of the priestesses blessed by Alma, to control the Ark's power for his own. Ord gives Adol the Wyvern Medal, a back door of sorts, to enter the ruins below Windseeker Heights, through the ruins of the ancient city housed by Reda during the time of the Winged Ones. There he can find a corridor leading to the Ark's central command hub. Ord trusts Adol with the task of taking down the commander and bringing back Isha. Adol bids farewell to Olha before setting off to Windseeker Heights. Adol places the medal in an engraving, opening a stairway underground. This leads to the ruined city of Kishgal, where Adol must make his way through the monster-infested chambers if he hopes to reach the depths of the Ark of Napishtim. He arrives at the Wyvern Corridor, where the link to the Ark awaits. Olha reveals herself and says that she has been following Adol for some time. She says that Adol will need a priestess to accomplish what he has to do. She plays her flute, revealing the Wyvern Guide. This creature was one of the Galba created by the ancient Darklings, but Alma granted him salvation and turned him into a benevolent servant that can guide those worthy to the Ark. Olha then gives Adol the Mirror of Zim for good luck. Before Adol can board, though, Gash also arrives, and claims that he'll be joining Adol on this flight. Olha doesn't see the point in stopping him, and wishes them both luck on their quest. As they fly toward the Ark, Gash reveals to Adol his past, being a descendant of the Darklings himself, though wishes to distance himself from them, unlike his brother. Ernst has been motivated since he obtained the Black Key, to finish what the Darklings started. Here it is. The Ark of Napishtim. Gash heads on ahead, as Adol follows close behind. Gash puts his ancestry to good use. He knows of the lift's password from old legends. It only takes one at a time, though. Gash insists on going first. It's his family mess to clean up after all. Just as he leaves, though, a guardian trap, no doubt set by the ancient Darklings, reveals itself. A prototypical version of Galbalon, Galbaroa, reveals itself. This must be the monster that took out the Roman fleet. Adol uses the strength of all Emelas blades to take the beast down. Enough stalling. It's time to help out Gash. It's a poor sight, though, as he lies bloody and hurt outside the entrance to the inner sanctum. The Black Key that Ernst wields tore him to shreds. All he can do is warn Adol before fainting. On the throne floor, Isha lies motionless beyond. The fairies try to talk Ernst into following Gash and finishing him off, but Ernst knows he has bigger entertainment with the arrival of Adol. Ernst knows all about the legendary Adol the Red, and is honored to meet him on the field of battle. Ernst is in awe of the Eldeen, but more so in their creations, like Almarion, the Black Key. Normally, it requires one of White Emelas to control the ore completely, but this can be circumvented thanks to the power of a priestess with the blood of Alma, hence the kidnapping of Isha. Isha cries in pain, as her power is used to breathe life into Almarion and grant Ernst the black wings of omnipotence. Adol has no choice but to strike the commander down. Ernst is helped by the three fairies, attacking from all directions as he continues an onslaught on Adol. But he is skilled, and his adventure experience is more than a tale or some traded intelligence. With his strength, he strikes true upon Ernst, taking down the supposed new god. He and the fairies are exhausted, and Adol seizes the chance to get Isha. Fortunately, she seems alright, but Ernst isn't finished.
Though this time, Gash retorts. Recovered enough to stand, he pleads with his brother to stop this and let the past die.
Ernst is too driven. His loyalty to his people outweighs any sense of reason or justice to him. He uses the last strength of Almarion to command the Ark, give him all of its power. The power overwhelms him, causing Ernst to collapse. The energy backfired, and the key was made useless. With the Ark active, but without its control mechanism, it shifts to an automatic protocol set in place from ancient times, to rectify these new civilizations of Eresia by destroying them. Doing so via an enormous tsunami caused by the Ark. Ernst wished for power, but not this eradication. There is hope, though. The path to the Ark's core is clear, and using it, Adol can make use of the three Emelas keys to shut down the Ark.
With Ernst's final words, he commands the fairy homunculi to follow and serve Gash as they have served him. He apologizes to his brother before passing on. Against Isha's wishes, Adol continues onward, with Gash forcing her to escape with the fairies.
Adol ascends and meets the Ark, who has some semblance of intelligence. It dreamt of the last of the Eldeen that escaped to Eresia, and shaped the course of their history, but they are all gone now. These civilizations are no longer blessed, and must be destroyed. The cores require the strength of all Emelas materials, as Adol dismantles the supercomputer core. Finally, the killing blow is struck, dooming the Ark of Napishtim. With its internal core collapsed, the massive machine crumbles into millions of mangled pieces.
Doki and Ladok were navigating near the Ark to monitor the situation, and fortunately were able to bring the fleeing Gash and Isha aboard. Gash had to deliver the news that Adol was still in the collapsing structure, much to the ire of the crew.
The crisis isn't over either. The Ark still generated a ring of waves tall enough that will obliterate the western coast of Eresia. That is until, on the Ark's destruction, a final act from the spirits of Alma and her priestesses from within. A pulse sent out that gives one final push of the weather manipulation energy, enough to dissipate the waves and become, for the first time in centuries, a still sea around Canaan. Our red swordsman has been through more than enough shipwrecks to last a lifetime. He'll be damned if he lets this one put him down. And not when he has Alma's blessing of the Mirror of Zim on his side. He awakens on the coast of Kotera, where he is quickly greeted by his friends. With the seas calm and the mysteries solved, the pirates began preparations to depart, while offering to give a lift to anyone at Port Remorge who desires to return to Eresia. Adol is invited to celebrate at the Festival of Alma before he must depart. While everyone recuperates,
Gash takes a small boat for himself, intending to use it to head back to Eresia with his new homunculus companions in tow.
The ship soon departs, bidding farewell to those who chose to stay on their long-time home. With the final wave, Adol bids his new friends and the origins of his old allies, the Eldeen, farewell. The Canaan vortex now dissipated, the crew is able to make it back to Eresia with little worry.